Well, hello, Cosmic Family. I am back, and I'm very excited to be back with a beautiful soul who would love to share her story. Her name is Chelsea Larie, and this is a little bit about her story. Chelsea is a holistic wellness practitioner dedicated to helping others reclaim their power through natural healing. After overcoming PTSD, anxiety, and depression, she turned to alternative modalities to restore her well being. So, with a background in radiology and computed tomography, she blends medical knowledge with holistic practices like shamanic Reiki, quantum healing hypnosis technique, and mushroom microdosing to support deep healing and transformation. Specializing in energy work with angels and archangels, Chelsea offers powerful QHHT sessions that facilitate healing on a quantum level. As a representative for Soul Cybin, she also guides clients in the benefits of microdosing for mental health. So, with a compassionate and personalized approach, Chelsea not only provides healing, but also empowers individuals with the tools and knowledge to take charge of their own well being and break free from cycles of illness. So, with that, thank you, Chelsea, for joining me on this podcast episode.
Thank you for having me. I was very flattered when you asked. It was kind of funny because you were like, share your story, share your story. And then when you asked, it was like a direct message from the universe said, it's time. It's time. So
Yeah.
here we
No,
are.
I really would love to delve into your story. Now, we didn't say enough of this in the bio, but I think I'd love to kind of go deeper into your own story of PTSD. And actually, your PTSD came from actually being a victim of human trafficking. So I'd love for you to share a little bit of that and what are some effects that the PTSD did to you before you really started on your own self-healing journey.
So I like to say I'm a survivor of human trafficking, not a victim.
Yes.
It's all about the terminology, right? But what kind of got me there is something that is I think, far too common in what's going on in today's world. So I have what's considered complex PTSD. It was kind of multiple layers. The human trafficking was just the last layer of what happened, the one that ultimately, the straw that broke the camel's back kind of thing. So, I'm from California, where it's a little bit different than other places in the country, including here in
Mhm,
Texas, where
mhm.
health and wellness is kind of your lifestyle. We have healthier restaurants. We always have. People are into essential oils and those kinds of things. So I was always very interested in things like nutrition. I was going to be a dietitian at one point, all these different things because I started to get sick when I was about like 12 or 13, just kind of out of nowhere. Started having major stomach problems. Nobody could figure it out. I went to dozens of doctors. My first layer of PTSD is from, I would consider medical trauma and what they were doing to me. I mean, I was a very young person having all these surgeries, pains, all these mysterious things happening nobody could answer. And I am a very stubborn person. So when doctors would say, just take all these pills. There's nothing we can do. And I would try it and I would get worse and I'd get really frustrated. I'm like, there has to be something else. There has to be something else to this. Um, Fast forward, I suffered for a very long time. I've had so many different things taken out, all this, starting to realize something more is going on with my body, something more is going on. And so I started to learn about little things just on the surface level. I'd say this was kind of before my awakening, look into some Chinese medicine things, but I wasn't dedicated to my own healing enough to really understand these things and where they were coming from. Then I started to go through the super dark night of the soul, right? I got to the point where I would lay there. I was in hospitals more than I was at home, and I would just scream, at the sky. I'm like, I'm not a bad person. Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? I blamed the universe. I blamed everything. I said, this can't be a thing, so I totally shut off the spirituality. I said, I don't deserve to suffer. You're making me suffer. I was pissed, right? I'm like, this is just not okay. So we're just going to numb it out now, right? I've always also been like a psychic medium since I was little. I can always feel spirits around me. I can feel strange things happening. Didn't know it at the time, but I'm such a strong empath. I was absorbing other people's illnesses. That's why I was so sick all the time. The doctors don't tell you that. They go, here's the pill, here's the pill. So I started going through some really hard times in my life. Started being a chronic pain patient, which is what usually happens after decades of medical trauma. You start to have autoimmune diseases, your body isn't working right. You just start having all this stuff. Pain, chronic pain. That's what happens. You're ignoring your check engine lights in your body because you don't know how to decode those messages. So I ended up severely addicted to opiates, severely addicted to opiates. I just had a small injury. I hurt my back at work. They started giving me pills, then more pills, then more pills. And then I just spiraled down the rabbit hole of hell. Now I know, heaven and hell are different levels of consciousness. And I went to the pit of the bottom of what I would consider hell is on this planet. It just got worse and worse. I was in medical school at this time. I was somehow able to go to class and be dealing with this addiction and pain and all these things. It was really, really difficult. Well, then what happens? It gets worse. They start taking away your pills. So you go look for other ways to numb the pain and do all these things. And um, no one in my family is really woo woo, spiritual, anything like that. So the support level, there was a lot of shame. Why are you doing this? Why are you having to take these medicines, all these kinds of things? Like, because I'm hurting. I didn't realize it was so much emotional pain. It was coming out as severe physical pain. So I started hanging out with the wrong people, doing kinds of things, of course. And I was working at a nightclub in Houston is where I was working at. And I got lured in, and they said, hey, there's a party, let's go. They tried to make it appear a little safer, like, oh, it's going to be me and my girlfriend, come to this hotel, whatever. We have all sorts of things we'll give them to you. So, of course, drug addict, you're going to give me free stuff, I'll come. Of course. And so, the first couple days was very party, happy, whatever. There's where the Stockholm syndrome beginning was starting. And then it very quickly turned into, you're not allowed to leave. You have to do what we say. And then I was realizing, oh crap, these people, this is their business. They lure people in, they use them. They were forcing me to basically be a prostitute for them out of this hotel. I was not allowed to go anywhere. They were not tying me up physically, but they started to go after me mentally. So if you say anything, we're going to kill you, we're going to kill your whole family, these kinds of things. They beat me up real bad a couple times. It got the PTSD part, that's not bad enough. But the day where I was presented with my death, okay, so I had not been living for my soul for a long time. I really didn't want to be here anymore. I was not actively suicidal, but if I was going to leave this planet, I wasn't going to be sad about it. I was looking for an exit. And then the exit came that day. And they had they put things on their heads, they had guns, all this. They're like, we're going to shoot you, leave you in a ditch. And in that moment, I remember I was in the back of the car and I prayed for the first time since I was little, probably like 20 years. And I said, please, if there is a God, I don't want to die. I'm sorry. So you start making promises. Start making, I'm so sorry. If you save me, I'll do better. And everything did all of a sudden they changed their minds. The guy got back in the car after changing the license plate, like they were ready to disappear, leave me in the ditch. And they didn't kill me. And I was able to get away a couple days later. I would sit there. I can't even describe the kind of terror sitting there. People we're going to kill you. They're not. First, it was real psychological as well. They wouldn't let me sleep. They weren't feeding me. I was just a hot mess. And again, I'm asking for help. I'm like, please, to myself, I'm like, please, someone come help me. Nobody even knew I was gone. Um, and I didn't know it at the time what happened, but I was able to escape. Um, and every day since then, I'm trying, okay, I was presented with death and I chose life. But what I chose was going to be really hard for a long time, really hard for years. This happened in, let's see, the end of April 2019. So it wasn't that long ago. This will be the 6 year anniversary this year. It really wasn't that long ago. And so I escaped. And, the first thing we did call the cops. I was at a motel. I ran to the front. I was like, please help me. They they were like, well, wait, what? And I'm like, I was all black and blue, all these kinds of things. And so we did call. I did get to the hospital, all that. And I was just in such a state of like I used to be a real confident kind of person, not really scared of anything. That's why I wasn't worried about going into strange places with strangers. I was like, I'm fine. I'm invincible. Nothing's killed me yet. You know why? But that all got taken away in that moment. And that moment, I didn't realize I kind of triggered my own spiritual awakening. All right. So, triggering a spiritual awakening while having PTSD is a lot of fun. You're so hyper aware of everything. I was already real sensitive to energies. And then you're sensing everything. You're sensing every different dimension. I was seeing shadow people. I was seeing all these kinds of things. It was the scariest time of my life. And so I tried to numb even more. All right. That's when I went on even worse for about a year after. I was just in the like first stages of that PTSD where it's setting in and you're just doing everything you can to not reactivate that loop, not reactivate that loop. I was doing any kind of drugs you can think of, all the way up to heroin. It was really bad. And I finally just like, I can't do this anymore after about a year. I was just like, something's got to change, something's got to change. And it was what was happening is when you reactivate this PTSD loop over and over. PTSD is a traumatic brain injury. A lot of people don't know this. You actually have brain damage in your brain. So things are happening, like your hypothalamus gets damaged. So you start having issues with regulating your body temperature. You're waking up in night sweats. You're having all these night terrors. I was stuttering a lot, which I know now because the brain, when it's in fight or flight, takes all that blood and puts it into certain areas of your body because it thinks you're running away from a tiger. It doesn't know that you're thinking of this bad thing that happened to you in a hotel. And so I would lose the ability to speak, kind of. It would make me stutter. It would, like I said, I would see funny things. It was like having multiple different um, psychological issues all at the same time. For me, it was like having bipolar, paranoid schizophrenia. It's called inescapable shock, is what PTSD was before. There's all these different things. And no one could really help me. They were just like, you're tripping, just relax, you're fine. And so I just started asking for help. I was like, okay, I got out of this. Like, I need help. I need help. I need help. And I do not ask for help. I've always been a very, stubborn person in that way. I'm like, I asked medicine for help and they didn't help me and they just made me worse. So I can just figure this out myself. And I made a promise to myself. I got away from Western medicine. Western medicine is what got me into this in the first place. I will blame Big Pharma for what happened to me. Um, and something has to change. So I said, I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to do this naturally. I'm not going to take anything. I'm not going to take any antidepressants. I know none of that stuff really works. I had been on one when I was younger and it caused a lot of issues. So then I started to try things. And one of the first things I did, it's kind of like an NLP, basic kind of NLP work with a spiritual person. Then I started trying like meditations and anything that I could look up and find that was more on the natural path, I was trying. Then I started to really detox my body. Um, I had never been super big into like sugar or anything like that. I don't have a gallbladder, so my eating was already a little bit on the better side, but I really started to focus on cut the chemicals, cut the crap, just detox it all out of your body. I started to learn about all the steroids and antibiotics I'd been on my whole life, had really set me up for PTSD to be a really big problem in my brain. Corticosteroids shrink your hypothalamus. There was this whole just like storm of things that I'd gone through my whole life set me up to have this like super duper PTSD. I started reading about, plant medicines, but I was scared, right? We're programmed. We're programmed. This is how it is. This is how it's not going to be. I've heard stories about mushrooms from people when I was younger that terrified me. I said, I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to do that. I started working at this really neat place where we did sensory deprivation float therapy. That's when I really started to like really all the time. It's almost like 24/7 self-care is what I was doing. I just had to try something because I was so just out of balance and my poor nervous system was just so fried. My adrenals were fried. And I'm like, I have to do something. And so I started to float. And for what people don't know what float therapy is, it's this really cool pool where you put 2,000 plus pounds of Epsom salt, about a foot of warm water. You go in there, you close the door. I did turn the lights off. I have experienced complete darkness before when I used to go in caves and a lot of those things. So it wasn't scary for me to experience that. A lot of people don't like to turn the light off, and that's fine. But you would think someone that is terrified of being kidnapped, right, wouldn't want to be in a dark room with the door closed, but that wasn't my experience at all. My hypervigilance at that time was so insane. I would lock my car door so many times, the battery on my key would go dead because I'm like, it has to be locked, it has to be locked. I would check my doors being locked 500 times. When I would get home, because remember, I can sense spirits and things. So if I thought something was in the house, I'd be looking under the bed, looking in the closet, anywhere anyone could hide. Yeah, I couldn't even go to the grocery store without having a panic attack. I was just always looking over my shoulder. If anyone was walking behind me, it would just, I mean, panic attack almost 24/7 every day is what I was experiencing. I was not the kind of panic attack where I'd be hyperventilating. I could kind of focus it in a little more, but I was exhausted. I was absolutely exhausted. So I started to do this float thing. And then in that kind of world, you start to hear about people talk about other types of healings. And I started to hear about the mushroom thing. And I'm going, I don't want to do mushrooms. I do not want to get into that. That is not, I've heard some stories about that kind of stuff. And then got in contact with some people and tried some. And this is why I do microdosing, because when you have PTSD or some real severe mental issues and you try to take a lot of a very powerful entheogenic medicine, it's going to show you exactly what's happening in your body. And it's can be very scary. People say bad trip. I had a very bad trip on this thing is what happened. And so it scared me. I said, I can't do that anymore. Not going to do that. I'm just going to keep I was still trying to numb a little bit. I was drinking wine a lot at night or all these things, just trying to find something. Then my body decided for me, we're going to be allergic to alcohol now. You can't have that anymore. No more caffeine. And now I'm realizing my body was saving me. I was going, you're not helping, what's going on in your body? You're not helping. I started studying a lot more about herbs, started doing acupuncture, those kinds of things. My gut health was a mess, which really, really messes with your mental health as well. Your serotonin is all produced pretty much in your guts. Then, by the grace of the universe, because again, I was asking for help. Someone that came into where I worked happened to have this bottle, and it was from psilocybin. People would take all sorts of things and float because it's a very meditative experience and it can enhance a lot of things. And she says, "Oh, it's a microdose." And I said, "What do you mean?" And she says, "It's mushroom microdosing." And I went, I've kind of been reading about this. I've been studying PTSD. I've been reading about some treatments. I've kind of read about this. And so she said, "Here, take a couple, try it out," and showed me the bottle. And so I did what it said, which is take on an empty stomach in the morning. And that was too much. That was too much for me. It was still activating something like, oh my gosh, it kind of, is boiling off the things that's happening to you. So I was like, okay, let me go on this website. Let me figure this out. So I got a much smaller dose. What microdosing is taking a teeny tiny subperceptual amount of medicine. It can be cannabis, it can be mushrooms, it can be MDMA, it can be any of these kinds of things. But when you're taking a full trip dose, which is like 3.5 grams, microdosing is taking like 25 milligrams to 100 milligrams. So like zero point 0.1 of 1 gram. It's a tiny little bit. And then I figured out I'm going to take this at night with food because it helps me sleep. And about 3 days later, I noticed I didn't check to see if the door was locked 500 times. Huh. All right. And then it was just little steps. And it's not like you're just going to take it and you're automatically going to feel better. That's not how these plants work. You have to work with the medicine. You have to work with the medicine, or else those neurons are not going to, form in the healthy way that they need to be. You might have this great experience, but to get the neurogenesis and everything working, it took time. So I realized I had to take just a little bit, and I had to be diligent about it. And I just kept taking it and I kept taking it. And I would do the 5 days on, 2 days off. My body was so out of whack. Those 2 days where I wouldn't take it, I would crash again. I would crash down to the bottom. And, I'm like, I can't, I can't do this anymore. This isn't working. And, something's like, just do it. Just do it. My higher self is like, just keep taking it. Just keep taking it. I found some tricks on how to do it. Soul Cybin sells another product called the Amplifier. It's Syrian Rue. What Syrian Rue is a natural MAOI, which means it is going to prevent your body from breaking down the serotonin you already have.
Mm.
So I figured out the trick of taking that on my off days so my serotonin wouldn't take a dive. And that's what's a little bit frustrating about this kind of thing is you get to be your own doctor. You have to remove the program of this guy with a degree is going to tell me what to do and I'm going to get better because that's not how this works. You're going to have to play with it. And it is frustrating because you do have days where you're so emotional, but that's the medicine working is it's coming out. It's coming out. You got to learn to work with it. So I would say about 9 months of pretty consistent. I would take little breaks here and there. Microdosing, I would consider myself cured of the PTSD. I'm still working on some layers of things that were there before the PTSD, of course, but I can go to the grocery store and even like yesterday, I was noticing I was at the grocery store and there's music playing and I'm kind of dancing, and I'm just like having a good time. And I start to cry a lot because for so long I was trapped in this my own hell that I'd created for myself. And it's changed so many things for me. It's not just for PTSD. It can heal addiction issues, which is a big thing. There's hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of research that have gone into this and proven how well it really works. Brain fog, anxiety, depression. I've noticed, oh, wait a minute, I'm starting to be creative. I kind of want to go paint something. I want to do something for myself. The way that it's working on your default mode network of your brain is getting you to kind of remove all the programs that were put onto you. And then what's left. Okay, what's left is you. And now you get to really work on those deep layers. So these kinds of things happen in large mushroom journeys, they do. But the integration for me is so much more powerful to do a little bit at a time when you're dealing with severe trauma. It's going to take a little bit of time. You can work with a therapist. It's said to working with a therapist is really, really amazing. Again, I was dead set on not going to anyone that had been Western medically trained. Even myself being Western medically trained, I had to think, okay, wait, what do I know? And then everything I don't know. And then, like, let's put it together. And so I started working with shamans as well. No, I'm still not drinking ayahuasca or anything like that, but they've helped me detox my body in some other ways I didn't know about. Something called Combo, which is a frog medicine from the Amazon, really helped to get some things out, I believe, that were aggravating everything. Taking certain herbs, ashwagandha is my favorite thing that has helped me so much with my PTSD, get that cortisol level down. I do, yoga, and it's frustrating because it's not an overnight process at first, but it's so worth it because I get to experience days where, okay, I think this is what it is supposed to be like to be on this planet. You can sit outside and just enjoy things and not all of those thoughts coming up about what happened to me and what are those people doing and um, are they going to come find me and all this kind of stuff. So it's been a long time. Obviously, I started taking gummies. A lot of people said that helped me more than anything when I started switching to CBD, CBN, obviously full spectrum. It is proven that a 1-to-1 ratio of the CBD THC is extremely important in people with PTSD because it kind of turns that short-term memory off a little bit. That's we all know how that kind of goes, but it separates. I would hear my guides tell me, we're creating a bridge gap in your brain. I go, what are they talking about? And they were pulling me away from that PTSD loop and desensitizing it kind of in the background is like what the mushrooms are doing. And then with, like cannabis and hemp products, it helped take off the little edge a little bit so that I could then start working and learning how to do hypnotherapy and learning how to do Reiki. Reiki was a really big deal for me when I learned. I was led to do it more as a self-healing thing. I've always had the ability. I didn't know what it was at the time, but ever since I was little, I've had very electric hands, is what I'm going to call it. I've used to destroy electronics. I just zap things. Then I started to realize I could put my hands on people and make them feel better. And so learned how to do Reiki, but it's a much more personal thing for me. I feel better when I do Reiki on other people. So it's a really powerful thing that I really love how to do. And now I'm studying, I want to be a master herbalist. So it's just my medical knowledge was more, I think, for the anatomy and things like that, kind of see how they work, how things work in the hospital. And now that I know all the things that I've learned, I can really help people realize your disease process is not what you've been told. A lot of people say things like, oh, my low back hurts. And I say, do you not feel supported in your life? And they go, how did you know that? And I said, well, your body's trying to tell you that. But unfortunately, we didn't get this manual when we were born, uh, not in this country anyway. And so, kind of decoding things for not only myself, but other people. I used to be so mad about having to say, why are you making me suffer? But it was really in that suffering that I learned how to heal myself. And then now I can share that with other people. So that is kind of how the short version of how I kind of got here. But Psilocybin is really amazing. I've worked with them. We're going on 2 years now that I personally have been microdosing on and off. I take longer breaks now just to kind of see what's going on with my brain. And now I get the fun effects, if you want to say, my cognitive function is enhancing, my memory is enhancing, my neuroplasticity is getting better. You just start to understand things. You can ask a question and then get the answer, or you kind of look back on periods of your life that were stressful and think of it in a different way. You see it from like this higher perspective. And that's all done without tripping, without feeling, any sort of kind of way. And these mushrooms have been along for millennia before humans. And I find it really amazing that this fungus, fungus plant, was here millions of years before humans and had the ability to heal things that humans wouldn't even be struggling with for millions of years. how did that happen? Everything was
Mhm.
put here for us, and the government has led people to believe these are dangerous things. We shouldn't use them. Schedule one drug. I mean, that is just ridiculous. There are ways to do this. Psilocybin is an entheogenic church, nonprofit organization. You are a member of their organization, and we make donations. So there are ways to get around the religious freedom of treating our own bodies and it's still remaining legal. A lot of people are scared of this. That's my kind of number one issue is recommending this to other people. They go, I get drug tested. And I said, have you ever looked up what you're being tested for? Because they don't test for mushrooms on
Mhm.
any drug test. Even the 25 panel ones, they don't test for this. Plus, it goes out of your body so quickly anyway. But because you're programmed to believe you have to take this medicine, you have to take that medicine. So I feel like mushrooms are kind of like the antivirus software of our brains, if you want to look at it like a computer.
Mm.
They increase your RAM ability, it increases your bandwidth ability and removes all the viruses, for lack of a better word, that we've been taught and programmed to believe. It's shown me things where I've thought I wanted things my whole life. And then I received them and realized, wait, this is a program. That was a program that was put in me. I don't actually want these things. And I really believe that's why the government has made mushrooms illegal across the board because they know that's what this does. It removes the veil a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. But mushrooms really, I think you really focus on your physical health. You'll start to make changes in what you eat. Mushrooms do not like to be mixed with, because I take it with food, and it was like they told me, please don't eat me with meat. I don't work as well that way. And okay. And so I just started changing the way things, and they just tell you how things work. And it's not like I'm listening. I don't take the little capsule. It doesn't talk to me that way. It's just like an intuitive thing. But so I love this company so much. They have an affiliate program. So now I really promote their products. I can personally say these work amazing. They are exactly what they say they are. They are grown by shamans. They have a very controlled environment where they do this with intention and prayer and crystals. They have a very protected energetic space where these things are. I can tell because I can feel energy. I can sense energy when I put like a capsule in my hand. I can feel it vibrating. It's really an amazing thing. When I first started taking it, I thought it was kind of silly. Talk to the medicine. I go, oh my God, I'm going to talk to this capsule. Okay. And just ask it for what you want. But then I started realizing this actually works. This actually works. And I, I just kept going with it. And now here I am 2 years later. And there is still work. There's always work. We have many layers. But if it wasn't for this, I probably wouldn't be here anymore because I completely understand why so many veterans, so many people, why there's so many suicides every day with PTSD because it's just this hell you can't get out of. Whatever it is you're scared of, it's just always there. It's always activating. You are so exhausted. They don't really talk about what happens, biologically, neurochemically, with all this being stuck in fight or flight all the time. Most people are just on different levels. And this is the answer. This is the answer I've found. This is the plant teacher that came to me when I asked for help. And I see it now. So we all know about mycelium, and mycelium connects to trees and all those kinds of things. But then now I'm not a tree, I can walk around. So it's like I'm creating an energetic mycelium by sharing it with other people. And then we're all one anyway. We all get to connect. And it really helps that. It really does. Things that you can't even explain until you experience it yourself. So many people that I work with recommended that have bought the products, even myself, you say, I feel like I'm coming out of this fog that has been there for as long as I can remember. You'd feel like you're just coming out of almost like a cave, like you're in the darkness and you're just kind of coming out and you're realizing, okay, this planet's actually got some beautiful things, and I want to experience some things, and I want to see what all these different things are about. Your curiosity comes back. It really, to me, is like being a child again. You get this curiosity back. You start to see things. You hear little kids talk about, oh, there's a unicorn in the clouds. I start to see that again, and I'm not tripping. It's just my brain is now projecting the more positive things instead of the negative things that's always been put into us. So it is a really powerful awakening tool. Even if you're not spiritual, you don't have to be when you take this. You can use it however you need. It's not. It doesn't care who you are. It'll help. So that's why I got on the microdosing.
Wow. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for that. I
Yeah.
mean, that's a beautiful story, being a survivor of, what happened to you. And now, how long were you actually missing? Or,
7 days. 7 days. I remember the dates now because I had looked it up from the police report and everything. And I just find this so hilarious. But my first day, I find it funny now, but my first day that like the way that I got out was May the 4th. So I'm a Star Wars nerd, okay? May
yes.
the 4th be with you. May the 4th be with you. My day of the first day of the rest of my life of, okay, the universe has given me a gift. I'm still seeing it, from different layers, but say, okay, now go. Now go fight your Darth Vader, figure it out.
Yeah.
You have been given all this, and I'm really big into synchronicity and numbers. So it was the 27th. My life path number is a 27 before you add it up. So it was April 27th that was the first day I went. Today's the 27th. Big things
Um,
happened to me on the 27th. And so, yeah, they had me for about a week.
wow. Okay. This is such a beautiful message, right? Because I feel like this is what we're talking about too, this idea of the self-healing journey that many of us are actually put on a path, and we have chosen a path that will trigger us into this awakening, into this spiritual awakening, but also to recognize that actually we have the power to heal ourselves, right? And if it is also in with the help of the plant allies, actually it was your story that made you actually trust in yourself again. Like you said, the moment where you're like, even before you were taken, you're like, hey, like things are not necessarily the best scenario. You were already dealing with so many issues in the Western medical practice. And so for you to actually experience the worst of the worst, I mean, imaginally what people can experience. And then you kind of said, hey, no, actually, even in the worst of the worst, you chose to live. And in that, like, that became like almost like your soul said, no, we're going to keep fighting. And maybe not fight, but maybe actually let's go through this journey of healing rather than this journey that, like, everything bad is happening to us. And that's, to me, what I really love your story is that with your medical background, you're able to actually dose yourself, which is such an important conversation that so many people kind of miss, because the entire self-healing journey is that you are tuning into your body, to your gifts. So for you, you obviously are able to communicate with the other, beings that are around you. And we've talked about this because you are a beautiful Libra. So I've said this with air signs. Air signs are always hearing those who are on the other side, and for you too, like to be able to feel almost like you couldn't understand how your gifts were going to develop because you experienced the Western perspective of
Yeah.
medicine. And even then, your body's like, clearly, this isn't working. And so it took you to a really dark place so that you can go, no, actually, it's time for us to actually find the right ways of healing ourselves. And then your journey has been really beautiful in going from, and addiction is such a big problem in our country. I mean, there's so many different, whether it's food, right? Whether
Yeah.
it's sex, whether it's drugs, whether it's something, whether it's a person that we're addicted to. I think that's so important to understand that our body tells us things aren't working. And then for you to be able to kind of trust again that you had all the answers for yourself, and that you were able to communicate deeper and not believe that you were schizophrenic or whatever mental disorder they like to throw at us today, but to trust this inner voice that taught you that no, you actually have a lot of guardians and they were ready to now help you actually figure out what you needed for your body. Because I think too often, I think even in when we meet patients, I always tell them, hey, actually, I'm asking you what you're feeling, but you are still the subjective person experiencing this. And so if you're not being honest with me of what you're experiencing, like what you experience as well, then how do we actually start gauging what is it that we need, right? And the fact that you were able to tune into your body, and your body was telling you what it needed, what it didn't want. And then the detox process, don't even get me started on how bad the detox process is in this country. There's no time that anyone ever says, "Hey, we should for a few days not do any of these things," right? And I think what's really interesting, we are moving closer to Ramadan and fasting and Lent because we're going to the age of the sun in Pisces, which is the season 30 days before we go into Aries energy, where the spring energy comes out. There's so many spiritual religions or concepts that actually talk about fasting from something,
Yeah.
either from food, but we're going to like almost like a spiritual ceremony, and we have to learn that we have the strong willpower to not indulge in the things that make us feel better by ourselves. But so almost like your soul's like, okay, let's go through like what our souls can experience in the worst possible way. But then when that happens, it's almost like you now say, hey, I've seen the worst, so the only way forward is actually doing things on our own, doing things to trust yourself. And that's such a beautiful story because really what happened to you, you started to not trust people, right? Obviously people, even like yourself, even the closed door, and I cannot imagine how tough it would be to actually sense the other side and always think that the other side may be a person that is in your vicinity that could actually cause harm, right? So it's been this beautiful journey that also for you to trust in the spirit guides that are there with you. And then the plant allies. I think we do not talk enough the fact that the plant allies are always communicating with us, and the fact that before you start a ceremony with them or you start taking them, you actually are making an intention with them, just like when we eat foods, right? And that's really beautiful to see that you're able to almost like communicate with the universe around you and made you actually more powerful as a being to understand your own healing. And now again, like I loved your story. And I was at first I was like, oh, will she be okay to tell her story? Because it most people hear this and they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. But like I'm like, no, actually I was really proud of you. Like, yes, go Chelsea. Like that's the person we should be asking and talking to because there, like you said, you turn it around from victim to like, no, you're a survivor. And people, we
Yeah.
should be seeing ourselves, the self-healing journey is actually a survival story, I think, right? Because
Yeah.
many of us experience the detriment of whatever happened to us in this reality, believing everybody else, right? I mean, like you said so many times, we get so confused on the programming that we experience from our parents to our family to the city, the culture that we live in, believing all these concepts and not actually trusting ourselves. So I really appreciate that you survived it all. And now you're like ready to actually share the magic of this medicine. But not just that, it's your journey. I think your journey is the medicine as much as yeah the mushroom plant medicines supported you. I think your story is the medicine itself, and for you to be able to speak that medicine to everybody, to share with everybody, I feel like that's the much more potent medicine that I think this whole podcast is about. So thank you for sharing that. Um, so right now, you were you when you do start with it, when did you kind of start going into the Reiki? Because that also is like you went into basically all the alternative modalities because clearly whatever you was considered
Well,
legal.
remember, I have that addictive personality, and I'm like let's do a lot, okay? Let's do it all. I've always been extremely like productive person. Um, like let's just do it all at once. And then started to realize, okay, I can't. This has taught me so much patience with myself, grace with myself, learning it's okay not to be okay. We're going to have meltdowns, we're going to have hard days, but don't quit. At first, it was more, well, I guess I'm not allowed to die because I've had quite a few near-death experiences. I luckily have this genetic mutation in my liver to where it makes it almost impossible for me to overdose. It was always a thing when I had surgeries. I would wake up during surgery, all these kinds of things, but it saved my life
Wow.
ultimately when I was having these problems. Um, I know that I have gone to the other side and come back. I don't have any memory of these near-death experiences. Like some people have some fabulous NDE stories. I don't have memory of it, but I've had other psychics and things tell me they go, they're not going to let you leave. They're going to keep sending you back. And I go, what are you talking about? Because I didn't realize I was having moments where I was dying, things like that. And so I went, well, if I'm not allowed to leave, I can't live like this anymore. I don't want to be, I've got to make this better because I can't live like this anymore. So it was just I was pissed off at first. I was pissed off. I don't know why you're making me do this. I would second guess my decision all the time. I'm like, why didn't I just let them kill me? Why did I choose to live this way and be in so much fear all the time? I mean, I've been in bad car accidents and things, and people say, I have PTSD from a car accident. And I go, I understand what you're saying. I've been there. But when every moment of your life, you don't trust yourself, you don't trust your thoughts. Anyone looks at you weird, I would just be, if you see people that are in severe paranoid states, you automatically assuming, oh gosh, they're probably on meth or something, which I had those times, but I couldn't, it was exhausting. And I was like, this has to stop. This has to stop. That's why I chose these things. And so I did. I was like, I'm going to start researching because that's what I do. I figure it out. We're taught to trust doctors and teachers and all these things. Well, I was always the kid that was, why? The teacher would say something, but why? And they wouldn't be able to answer me. So I would instantly say, okay, I'm not going to listen to anything else you have to say. And I would look things up myself. That's how I've gotten a lot of the knowledge I've had wasn't even from the multiple college degrees I have. It was from figure it out, or someone in my family might be sick and I go, let's figure this out. I've been a healer my whole life. I've always been trying to help people. I just didn't know how to do it quite yet.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be a private chef for a woman that had cancer. Even before I really knew exactly what chakras and all that were, I was tailoring her diet based on that chakra that was out of balance. So, like, I know all these things. How do I know this stuff? I know this from past lives. I've done these things before. You don't know that at first before you're awakening, but you have all these things come up. And I just kept fighting and I kept fighting. And the mushrooms do help you with meditations and being able to listen because it was very hard for me to settle. It was very hard for me to get relaxed enough to where I could even try to listen to my higher self. I was shown in one of my hypnosis things I've done. They brought me back to that moment, where I had to deal with being in that room with those people and how I escaped. And I kept saying, I want help, and nobody came. I didn't think anyone did, but I was shown. Uh, I did. It was my higher self I saw standing in that doorway. Because I remember right before I ran, I kept hearing run, run. I was like, I can't. I was convinced someone was outside, was going to shoot me. I was convinced. And it was it's kind of funny. I wish I could draw so I could draw this, but it was like me kind of dressed like a Greek goddess, like badass, like Athena or something at the door going, let's go. Let's go. You're going to be okay. And when I saw that in that work I was doing, I went, of all of the beings in the entire universe, the most powerful one that came to get me and save me was me. It wasn't Jesus. It wasn't, Buddha. It wasn't these people, what people ask for those for certain deities to come help them, which they are part of us anyway.
Hmm.
It was me. Oh my, okay. Well, now what? And I'm still figuring out the now what. But I used to always say I wanted to help veterans with PTSD. I have an uncle who's a veteran that has PTSD, but that's not even really where it came from. I just started to read books from famous people like Marcus Luttrell and, the American sniper Chris Cog. I said, we have to help these people. Now I know to be careful what you ask for because the universe went, all right, you're going to help, but you have to understand. You have to understand what this is like. And now that I do, you can notice people when you go through trauma and then you kind of heal any kind of issue, you can notice it, the subtle energies, if you know how to read body language and things like that. I can see it in people. And I'm getting to be a lot more confident even than I have in the past, where I can notice someone is really struggling that can benefit from this kind of thing. I was like, "Hey, have you heard about microdosing?" Kind of get in their face. Go, what is this crazy lady doing? Talk to me about all this stuff. But there is hope. There is help. My biggest thing right now is trying to help people understand that what their doctor is telling them might not actually be the best path for their healing. And I'm not trying to give everyone specific answers. Everyone's healing path is different. People use different plant medicines. This has just been the one so far for me that has worked, and it has been proven over and over and over. That is one of the greatest things about their website. Everything is there, the research is there. It's proven to be so much more effective than anything else. And you don't have to take it forever. Every dose of psilocybin you take, you don't go backwards. There's healing with every single little bit that you take. And it's being used to do real pretty amazing things like cure Alzheimer's and dementia and things that are said to not be curable. It just
Hmm.
kind of really opens it up for everyone. And I want people to feel better because I know how it feels to feel so bad. And I guess I chose the path of healer of I'm going to make myself the lab rat. I am going to do the tests on myself. So everything that I recommend is something that I personally have done myself or deeply researched and worked with people close that do have these things. So I don't promote things that are just said, oh, there's this great advertisement. Okay, it's going to be great. I can say, I tried this, and this is what worked for me. These are some tricks I've figured out. I've done the suffering. I've gone through these things. So hopefully maybe some other people don't have to go through every single step like I did. Um, they say we choose all this when we come here,
Hmm.
and I'm still learning why I would choose such hard things to go through. But then my higher self, which I have a more direct contact with now, it goes, well, because we're badass. That's why.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
knew, my ancestors, they're like, we knew you could handle it. You don't think you can, but you have. And then I start to realize I've survived everything. I'm not
Mhm.
just a survivor of human trafficking, I'm a survivor of the
Being a
opioid
human.
crisis.
Yeah, just
I'm
being
a
human on this
survivor
planet.
of having, half my body parts being taken out for absolutely no reason because they don't really know what they're doing. I've survived lots of near death experiences. It's like, okay, let's just share the knowledge now because that's all I can do is try to help other people, and just keep learning new things. I learn new things all the time. I'll keep recommending more things that I try that work. Again, I try it on myself.
Yeah,
So
that's beautiful. I felt the at least the Western background gave you the idea of being your own scientist,
yes, I'm very
right?
sciencey brain.
Yeah, yeah, and that's beautiful. Just because like you because a lot of times people are selling things that they have not experienced themselves, and you can hear it in when they sell it. You're just like, but you don't believe it, right? And I think
Yes.
this is why
Yeah.
actually there's been such a huge like issue with like people selling stuff that they haven't tried, thinking that like these people are gonna heal, right? But you said no, actually, I'm gonna try it myself, and in kind of even in your story that like you did go through the programming of, oh no, I cannot touch this because of the crazy stories I've heard. But even the first time, second time, third time, it wasn't a good experience for you. But you kind of like were able to listen to your body as a scientist and kind of refine the process through iteration until your body was like, okay, this is where we're at and this is working for us now. And that gave you this ability to start dosing yourself. And I think dosing is the biggest thing that everybody struggles with. And so that's why I think the idea of microdosing became a thing, because people were always looking for these crazy psychedelic experiences.
Right.
And that's where people are like, oh, I don't do psychedelics, blah, blah, blah. But like, no, actually, I don't think when we first started using it back in the days, we were not doing these psychedelic experiences, but we were probably microdosing. I think my biggest hypothesis of sickness is the fact that we actually no longer eat the food that our culture and our ancestors used to eat daily. And because of that, most of our illness is a deficiency of not eating herbs. And so it's so funny when people are like, herbs are medicine. Like, they weren't always medicine. They were just diet, or not even diet, but they were just part of our everyday food source that we're eating, because these were the things that were readily available before we had grocery store that told us you can have that same banana every day of the year and not have to worry that the seasons change, right?
Right.
Or the fact that like some of these food are genetically modified now, right? Agriculturally, yet
Yeah.
here we are with like mushrooms that have not been genetically modified. They are literally growing in nature all the time, and they are being harvested by nature because nature is providing us with this beautiful medicine. And I think that's what's really beautiful. And also you for you to like go into the journey of herbalism. And that's where I feel like so many of the what I call the ancient witches, right? And the ancient medicine men and druids were like all coming back now. But they're like,
Yeah.
how am I going to ever remember that herbs and herbal medicine and plants are allies? And like, let's go through a crazy journey so that I
Yeah.
can remember that these plant allies are here for us. So it's such a really beautiful story of how you got to where you're at today.
Now I feel like it's my mission to re-educate people in a way they can understand, that isn't so scary. I do a lot of things with people where they will bring me, their radiology report. I'm like, okay, show me what Western medicine told me is wrong, and then let's go through it. Let's see what's happening, and then I'm gonna tell you what I have learned and found. The hypnosis I do is really, really powerful, the QHHT, because I can directly ask your subconscious what is wrong. And it's very easily tells me there's this going on, or they're eating this, or they shouldn't be eating this. And it's so interesting that it's that simple to get the answers. But someone like me, where I suffered for decades and the doctors couldn't figure it out, and all I had to do was get someone to, quiet my noisy mind so that my quiet mind could answer and they would know the answer. We have all the answers. We're programmed to not know that because they won't make money off of us that way. But yeah, the eye-opening experience of the chemicals and how much poison is being put in. Now, the detox process does not happen overnight. I feel like I'm still detoxing some things. Um, yeah, I've heard kids these days, so I think you're about the same age as me, but like in the 80s, early 80s, we were given about 12 to 15 vaccines as
Mm-hmm.
children if we
Yep.
took them, which I
Mm-hmm.
did. My parents didn't know. They thought this was
Mm-hmm.
healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Now children are given about 75 different shots.
It's ridiculous.
75.
Yeah.
And just learning, it just that we have so much access to information. I really want to try to tell people, just look at what you're taking. Look at what you think. Okay, now you're taking this medication. can I tell you an herb that's actually more powerful that will actually heal that problem instead of just put a band-aid on it for you? I like to consider Western medicine, they say it's health care. To me, it's not, it's sick care because you go and you're sick and they keep you sick. Health care to me is Eastern medicine. We're preventing the problems, right? We are going to go after the subtle energy imbalances before it's an issue. We're learning to pay attention to those little check engine lights and things in your body and help support your body's natural ability to heal. Your body wants nothing but to maintain homeostasis. It will always try to come back to balance. It will always try. But, when we're drinking Gatorade or eating McDonald's, like you have no
Mm-hmm.
idea like the damage. And then you start to learn and you take things like mushrooms, which make you pay more attention. My senses were already extremely heightened, but one of the things that's happened for me with microdosing is my sense of smell is insane. I can smell things that aren't even in this dimension at this point. And so, the food, like you said, we're not eating the food our ancestors ate. What is this? Learning, okay, I'm going to grow my own food. How am I going to do that? And the earth talks to us. I get more insight and information just from gardening and understanding and just sitting and being aware because we are nature. How does nature
Mm-hmm.
heal itself? What do we have to do? Um, so that's what I like to do with my clients is I'm not trying to force anything on anybody, but it's usually people that are completely fed up. They've come to the point where I was, where they say, I can't do this anymore. My doctor has done all this, but I'm starting to realize I don't think that's the best thing for me. And those are the people that we can, let's go, let's do some work. And everybody wants an overnight fix. They do. But listen, you didn't get sick overnight. So you're not going to heal overnight. It's going to be a process. You go into the hole. Now we're going to come out and it's going to be a process. And a lot of people don't want to hear that, but it's worth it. It's so
Mm-hmm.
worth it. It will just get better and better. And then once you kind of you put a firm foot and you make that decision, I want to get better, the universe is going to send you support on how to do that. It's always going to put it there. But are you going to listen to it? Are you going to catch with the help that's being sent to you? Even the triggers that are the help that are being sent to you, that are showing you, or people that are being shown in your life to um, see if you're going to make that same choice. It's like once you make that firm choice, I want to get better. Your higher self, the universe, is going to support you in doing that. And pay attention to the plants and things that are coming to you because they are being sent to you for a reason, because those are the ones that can help you. So I don't want to just stop with the mushrooms. There's other things I'd like to try eventually when they call to me. Learning more about shamanism. And shamanism isn't about just drinking ayahuasca in the jungle. There's so much more that goes into it. And, all these different layers that I'm just excited to keep going. And I'm now at the point where I say, okay, I am glad that I chose to live because I'm just starting to live again. And since I was little, when we come out of the hypnosis of being a child, your brain waves change. Now you're an adult,
Mm-hmm.
and then realizing, wait a minute, it's better back there. How do we bring the both? How do we be adults and children at the same time?
Right.
And it's possible. It's really possible. I believe in this medicine so much. It helped me very quickly. It for a few things, but then the rest of it just takes a little time. I just want everybody to try it that has any sort of mental anything. And there's so much more. It's not just mental health. It fixes gut health because all
Mm-hmm.
the serotonin receptors are in your
Right.
intestines in your
Yeah.
gut, and the psilocybin is one molecule away from serotonin. It's one phosphate molecule away. And so it attaches to the same receptors. And so I had gut issues most of my whole life. And now they're gone. I've read all these studies. Wait a minute. Okay, this is going to fix this. And then it's like a train. Once you get the train moving, just get the train moving, and there might be little bumps and things, but just don't give up because it really will help you. The antidepressants are not going to help long term. They're not fixing the problem. They're just kind of covering it up. So,
Yeah, yeah. Ah, thank you for that.
Yeah.
So we're kind of coming to the end. I'd love for you to maybe offer kind of a tip for anyone who's listening, and like, what is it that you would advise anyone who is on this self-healing journey in whatever capacity they're at? What are some, or like, what a good tip that you can offer them to kind of trust in their own self-healing?
Learn to ask for help. And it doesn't have to be another human if you have trust issues, like well, most of us do, but just start to ask your guides for help, start to ask the universe for help, start to pay attention, start to just learning to listen, I think is one of the hardest things that we have to go through. Learn to be patient with yourself because this is a journey. It's going to be kind of like a roller coaster, but you're going to get better. You're going to get better. Don't give up. Reach out to help for people, like us that have gone through these things. Just if you don't want to talk to people, read some books, till you are ready to talk to people. But don't give up, even on the hard days, though that's when the work is really happening. We'll see, well, I was just crying all day. Well, did you know how much gets released in tears? Let it cry, like just let it out. Look for help. Don't give up. Trust yourself. Reprogramming your intuition is a process. Just trust yourself. There was something Soul Simon sent today I wanted to read because it was so beautiful about trusting the process. It's like with presence, courage, and absolute trust in this process. Because on the other side of what feels unbearable is transformation. On the other side of resistance is freedom. And on the other side of deep feeling is deep healing. So lean in, breathe through it, trust that you are held in this journey. And remember, the light will always find its way through.
Oh, wow, beautiful.
I
Thank you.
really, really liked that today. It was that
Yeah.
it came to here, and I heard another quote that said, it was a Rumi quote that said, where the bandage is where the light comes in.
Mm,
So the
yes.
pain is the opportunity to find the light. I call myself the starlight Reiki. Stars only shine in the darkness. So we really figure out who we are by going through these tough times if we choose to. Everyone has the choice. And a lot of people, they don't think they can do it. You can do it. You can do it. Doesn't matter what's going on. I can help support you in any way that I can with the healing methods I know. If I don't know how to do it, I'm going to help direct you towards someone that will. That's the kind of person I am as well. It's like I'm kind of like an air traffic controller, a little bit
Yeah.
of healing. If I can't, I don't do sound baths. Dr. Charlie does. Why don't you come try one out? Just keep trying different things. Everyone's path is different. Everyone's, as Bashar would say, permission slips are different. Don't feel bad if something doesn't work for you that's working fabulously for someone else.
Hmm.
It's all going to be different. Though our energy systems have been traumatized and programmed in different ways. And so the real medicine is going to come in different ways. So,
Exactly. So
yeah.
thank you for that. Would you like to also share with anybody how they can reach out to you and connect with you?
So I do not have my website up. I am working on that this year. A couple different things. You say my name up there with the like at Chelsea Larie. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I post lots of positive things. Um, Once this gets posted, I'll post the link for Soul Cybin on how to get there. You can't just Google them, it is a protected thing. And it'll get to my link. I'll put the discount code.
Oh,
But the best
perfect.
part, they'll give everyone free product. Anyone
Ooh,
that wants to
nice.
sign up, they will send you 2 weeks for free. You just have to pay, I think it's like $8 shipping. You don't have to trust what I'm saying. Try it for free. Try it for free. That is how much they believe in this. And they have a huge, they have, it's so amazing. Everything they have is so amazing. They have a complete video course. There's 17 different videos that are going to tell you what is microdosing, how to do it, contraindications, how to stay safe, what to do after. They have put it exactly for everyone to be able to use. Doesn't matter where you're coming from, what level of education, right? It doesn't matter. They have made it very simple for everyone to use. It's called Oneness University, is what they've created on how to do that. They are coming up with actual retreats. They do stuff more than microdosing for those people that are at that level of consciousness, and just really just amazing stuff on there. So we'll make sure to post that link for everybody as well. But I do work at Aura, so I can probably post that link too if anyone makes an appointment. I can do mobile Reiki as well. I am set up to be able to do that. So just however I can be of service, anybody on here. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Chelsea, for coming on, sharing your beautiful story, but also giving people hope, right? Hope and inspiration that, we are in a very interesting time, I think, astrologically, but also like just timing, because we are seeing where people are noticing that the Western way of doing things, or Western medicine and what we experience here in America, and really the whole world with Big Pharma, is that it has not been able to support us where we need to. And so I'm really excited that, people like us are really kind of standing up now and speaking up together, because we realize that like it is a time for us to kind of take back our health, take back our sovereignty of our health, and for everyone to make their own decisions in our own health, and not have to trust anybody, because all of the signs, all the check engine lights, I do this with TCM. Your tongue, your pulse, your eyes, your ears is telling us everything already of what you need. And so I think it's important to learn to trust ourselves. And your story has been so inspirational for us to listen to. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm glad I didn't have to speak so much today. You totally, did an awesome job sharing your story. And I'm really excited to be, again, working with you at Aura, but also being able to do some cool things together. Maybe, bring our modalities together to support people who need maybe 2 or 3 modalities to support their overall healing, and be able to also trust themselves in their own healing. So thank you so much, Chelsea. Thank you, everyone, for listening in today. And until next time,
Thank you.
bye, everyone.
Bye.